Wade Harman, are you ready to fearlessly question today?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we'll kind of start things off a little slow. First, we'll let you tell your story as it relates to fearlessly questioning being the underdog. It's kind of a vague topic, but I have a very strong feeling that there's a good story there.
Well, I appreciate being called the underdog, I guess. I never really thought of myself that way. But my story starts in a coal mines and ends at a desk where I'm at right now. So basically, I did what I thought I loved. Whenever I came out of, I'd done a couple of years of college and couldn't find a job nowhere. Not anything that was really high paying. Um, but I had experience as a coal miner because all through high school and then all through college I was working at a coal mines and making about $23, $24 an hour. And for an 18-year-old kid, that's pretty good money. So I just opted to just go full time for the coal mines and worked for a long while doing that and got hurt in the mines after a while and let me turn off my phone here. Heard it ding. So I needed money. I needed to make some money for my family and I didn't know what to do because really all I knew how to do was mine coal. And so I always knew that you could make money on the internet, but I had no idea how to do it. So long story short, I spent a bunch of money, wasted a bunch of money, rather say, and had to learn a lot, made a lot of mistakes, and so I'm here now. I don't know how, but I'm here.
That's why I think the thing that drew me to it is just everything about it. Your story feels like you're kind of self-made, if you will, and that you didn't really have any breaks. If anything, you had it. The odds stacked against you more than anybody else. Um, First, let's talk about how do you. I guess this is the most fearless question that I had to kind of start the show off. How do you not care about everyone else in that kind of position from where you start and where everybody else is? How do you just kind of look at your own unique situation without kind of letting everything else distract you?
You mean how do I not care about what now?
All right, so how do you like? So part of being the underdog is um, you're not quite sure. You know that there's a lot of people doing what you're doing out there, and usually that intimidates a lot of people. But to truly be a successful underdog, you have to kind of have a certain level of I don't really care what other people are doing. I'm determined, I'm committed, and I need to do this.
Oh man, at first I did care. I mean, I really needed the approval of these big influencers because I seen what they were doing. I seen the clout and the influence that they had over all these other people, and so I kind of mimicked what I thought people wanted me to do. I never really stepped outside of the box and said what I really felt like saying to influencers. Now, thankfully, influencers like Mark Trapagan and Martin Shervington, it wasn't like that with them. They just took me under their wing and showed me the ropes of what I needed to do to succeed, and for that I'm thankful. And but I did want their approval. I did want their attention, and then it happened. This is what happened. This is I've you're fixing to get a something I've never told anybody.
That's what we
Me,
do here.
me and the other person only know maybe two other people, and I spoke my mind to a person, a very influential person. I'm not going to say his or her name, um, but that that blogger, again very influential, went on to say something about what they did on social media, and I knew it to be false. And here I am, I'm not big at all. I'm just real small, um, and I have to choose my words carefully because I don't want to say his or her name. But I went on his or her blog and I said, well, this is not right. I made a comment. I said, this is not right because I'm here watching you and you're doing the exact opposite of what you say you're going to do. And this person got very upset, very angry at me, a very influential person as well. And to this day, it's still like that. And that's when I stopped caring about what other people thought, because if I have a gut feeling, and I know something, I'm not an idiot. I can read English. That person said they did one thing, and then they went over on social and they did the exact opposite of what they said they were going to do. And so I just called them out on it. And so it was then that I said, all right, look, I've got ideals, and I've got things, and thoughts that could help people. I'm not going to tiptoe around anybody else. I don't need their help. If you want to help me, I appreciate it. And thanks again to Mark Traphagen and Martin Shervington, Erica Inga, and all of these other influencers that just reached down and helped me. They really did, and I appreciate that. But it's not like I'm sticking my hand out for help. I never asked this person for help at all. Just kind of called them out. And the way they acted, and again, it escalated me. This whole situation escalated, and I probably acted. I know I acted too brash. So if I could back up and redo that, I would definitely redo that and try to not be as harsh, because I knew that they were doing something wrong, and then so I was too harsh. I did it wrong.
Let me come in and say, cut yourself a little bit of a break here, because I mean, if they are truly, let me say, the influencer that they should or are perceived to be, they should be able to handle that slight criticism, or that fearless question from you, and do it so in a way that is obviously respectful. So I would just say that just validates their lack of, I don't know what the word I want to use is, but it just really doesn't validate their opinions moving forward. They've proven to you that well, maybe I don't need to pay as much attention to them as maybe I should. But what I really want to know is, from that day on, what kind of change did you see in your business and the response that you were getting online from that?
It escalated. I mean, it really did. At that time, nobody was really paying attention to me that much, and so I wasn't nobody. I still ain't anybody. And compared to these other people that are paving the way. But what killed me was that there was thousands of other people that had read the same exact thing that I had read, and everybody was quiet. And nobody spoke up but me. And so that kind of was like, well, these people need someone that will tell them the truth when the world's on fire, that'll be the same person that they know that they should be in a blog post, on social media, on a hangout, and in real life. And that's the person that I chose to be that day. And I understand what you're saying, that person was wrong, whatever, but I was wrong too. And, I even apologized to that person and try to make it right, but still nothing, to this day. But, hey, water in the bridge.
Very true. And I would, maybe after this is over, you can kind of just slip me the name of that person. That'd be interesting to know. I'll see if I can get it out of you. But just so I can stop following. I just want to know so I can stop following. I don't want to actually, spread the word. But no. But anyways, so kind of we're getting into the whole mindset of being an underdog, and I think the most important thing that kind of what you said was you did care to start, and you're just kind of going about your way, doing things the way that everybody else does, and kind of mimicking. But then you kind of found your own voice a little bit, but you still had that maybe same attitude. Should you always want to have a little bit of the underdog in you, the way you approach things? Is that helpful?
Yeah, I guess that was what I was feeling. I mean, you're classifying it as something, and I guess I can identify with what you're naming, with the emotions and the feelings and the strategies that I implemented. So yeah, that's something that I would definitely want to keep with me, because it puts a fire inside of me that wants to prove, when I know someone is wrong and I'm right, it puts that fire inside of me that wants to prove them wrong and show them why. But to learn from the mistakes that I made in the past, to do it the right way. And that's when I started attaching myself to the relationship marketing. And most people are like, well, you're the relationship marketing guy. You should be able to make friends with anybody. But I can't, and I won't be able to make friends with anybody. Do I hate it? Yes, I hate that. But you
You
can't
hate that
change
you
the way
can't make friends with everybody?
I do. I'd love to make friends with everybody. I try to make it a point. I get almost 2,000 notifications on Google Plus a day. I try to make it a point to thank each individual that takes the time to share my posts or comment or plus mention me in some way. I try to, to reply to those people because I truly care about them. I really do. I want, last night I wrote my very first post on the LinkedIn publishing platform, and I wanted to wait because I wanted to really make that first post a good one, because I don't want to just blast out to nothing to, thousands of people. I want to make an impact in their lives and to kind of be that role model that, I didn't have a role model at first. Just like you said, I was swimming upstream by myself up against the current, and then all of a sudden here's Mark Traphagen. He finally helps me, but I had to make it to that point, and there is I guess there is a type of underdog feeling with that.
What did you have to do to get to that point? What was so important about being able to actually just get there?
Being able to just get there was, you know, it was a turning point in my career. I believe that I could have brought myself so far in social media, but not having any type of marketing background or knowing any type of social strategy, I believe I could only brought myself to a certain point. Now, Mark Traphagen isn't in the background writing my tweets for me or anything like that, but it's little things that he would say either in Hangouts or I went and met him at I went and met him in North Carolina just to have dinner with him, and it's just little conversations, things like that he helped me out. But up until that point, it was me and no one else. I was just by myself, and I believe from when I started to when I met the first influencer, it was a mind changing process. I really had to rethink some things of what I was doing, because it's almost like I would go a little bit and get a little momentum and then stop for 2 or 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever it may be, and not see any forward progress. And so I had to change the way I did my strategies, because it was an uphill climb for me, because of course I didn't have the background that that a lot of people have, and so I had to learn things. So whenever I would stop, I'd have to learn something new and just implement it.
I think what you kind of touched upon, and tell me if you think this is true, but what I've noticed I guess I'll consider myself an underdog too here, but and what I've noticed with some of these people is that the underdog, that person, you're always where people maybe don't expect you to be. You keep showing up. You do the things that people wouldn't necessarily realize or be aware of. How important was that? And again, just being, taking the chance of driving to North Carolina to meet Mark. I mean, how important was that?
That was very important. Um, it was very important. But was it time consuming? Yes. Did I want to drive 5 hours one way? No. Didn't want to do that. But I knew that at the end of that journey, there would be a stronger bond, a stronger relationship, and a newfound respect, not just on my end, but on his end. And actually, there was. I mean, he bragged to people how I went and came and had lunch with him and different things. It just strengthened that bond. And so, if there's a place that I need to be, and I know it's going to help strengthen that relationship, then I'll make the drive. I've done it before, and I'll do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And actually, I have a similar experience that happened just recently. I was offered a free ticket to HubSpot's Inbound 14 conference next week in Boston. This was, I got it offered to me like 3 days ago. So I had to book like a whole trip to Boston in like a matter of like 24 hours and everything. And so, it's just an opportunity, and I'm going to take it. So there's tons of people there to go meet and be influenced from. So we're actually going to take the show on the road there. But I mean, it's so important. I just want people to kind of understand that it's just being able to recognize those opportunities. Do you have any kind of tips to kind of help people recognize when those opportunities arise?
I think it's hard for some people to recognize this because they try to create the opportunity themselves, and especially on the influencer level, because everyone wants to be best friends with an influencer, but it doesn't happen, quite like you would think it would happen, or the way that you planned it out. And where people get mixed up and go wrong with this is when they start attacking the influencer with private messages or emails or the Google Plus chat window, and they just start bombarding them with, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, I really like you, and let's do this, let's do that." It doesn't cultivate that way. You gotta stroke the cat the right direction. You can't do it the wrong way. Cats don't like that. You have to pet the cat the right way from the head to the tail, and same way with influencers. And I believe that it's the same way with everybody, just not influencers. Influencers are people too, and you have to understand how to talk to people. And the way you do that is you start cultivating what like you said before, being in places where nobody expects you to be. You have to be there in order to have that conversation and that engagement with people, to make that relationship. First off, you want to be visible. You want them to remember you. You need to be active on their social profiles, +1 in their posts, resharing their posts, not so much engaging with them as far as conversation goes, but engaging on their social media. That way, whenever I had one influencer tell me, he said, "The way I remember you is I would go to the Google Plus notifications, and there your face would be every day." And so after a couple of weeks of that, then you can start to kind of hit them up with a private message or things like that. But I think that's where most people lose that thought process, because they want to just get in there and get it done, and it just don't work like that.
If I tell you what, if somebody comes out of the gate with the like direct hangout message, like the chat message, that's insane to me. Like that's like that person needs like a whole class on like online etiquette, but we won't harp on that person. But we're a little off schedule. I want to get in. It's time to turn the tables on the audience. We got a lot of good people here showing up to listen to you talk here, Wade. Kristen Drysdale, Cheryl Deuce, Jeff C, a bunch of Google Plus faithful here. So it's time to turn the tables on them, and for you to ask them a fearless question of your own, something that you may have always wanted to know the answer to, but possibly was unsure of the reaction or the answer that you would get. Now's the time to ask it.
Okay. My question to all of you out there, to those of you that are listening to this on iTunes right now, why do you waste so much time on social media? And why can't you ignore your phone for an hour so that you can cultivate the relationships you need to cultivate with your family? Seems like we're so hung up on social media and so attached to this, our phone, that we can't build that bond with our families. Why can't you do that?
I tell you that it's a little close to home, because if you're not careful, you can look up and you'll see you and your wife both on your phone, and then your kids are just strangling each other in the background. You really don't even notice.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Well, maybe it only happens to me. I've just admitted that I'm a terrible parent, but I'm sure maybe somebody else is with me in that boat. But I want to come back to kind of continuing that climb up, and getting that person's attention, if you will. And the way that people kind of go about it in the wrong way. And we'll wait for people's answers to kind of come in, and we'll kind of start to show those as soon as they start to trickle in. But is there any kind of, I don't want to say secrets, but I mean, what's kind of your philosophy, your theory on kind of the way to approach somebody and to do it in the right way and a respectful way, and to actually have it work?
Well, most people that are watching right now already know what I'm going to say, but one of the things that I'm a big stickler for is to be consistent, to be there. Who was it? I had his name in my head and I forgot. He said 80% of success is just showing up. if anybody can remember his name, I think it starts with a W. But anyway, and that's what you got to be. You got to be consistent. You got to show up. You got to make yourself known, and it spreads out over time, because you can't, sadly, you can't just come to an influencer or anybody else in their right mind, for that matter, and just start building a great friendship with. So be consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, I think people just kind of want to go at it too fast, too soon, kind of like a 13-year-old boy on his first date kind of thing. And that I think that's the problem. It's just you got to say something to somebody that one gets their attention. Be personable, be relatable, but at the same time be rememberable too. Just don't say, "Oh, hey, you're so awesome. Please, I'd be so blessed to just be in your presence." But you have to, say something that gets their attention. And
Yeah, well,
not,
this one guy, I got one of those messages. This one guy told me, he said that he was a rising star in social media. That I needed.
Did you even wait first? Did you even have to read beyond that first line? Because I wouldn't have. I'd have set it on fire. Set it on
That's
fire.
funny.
Well, tell me, what else did it say? Was there anything else? Because
No,
no, it
that's
wasn't.
about all I can remember.
No, all right. Yeah, and I think, again, this whole kind of it's really a mentality. It's a mindset. When we say the word underdog, it's just, what we're really getting after is understanding, we're all coming from a place that is below where we want to be, and how do we get to that, place where, we see these people who are there, or, companies or whatever it is. It might not be a person per se, but just a different place. What kind of, I guess, other habits outside of just interacting on social media? What kind of just, I want to say maybe personality traits? I don't know, but what do you do? Like kind of what makes up Wade Harman in that sense?
Oh, outside of social media and work?
Well, I mean, just kind of that whole mindset, that mentality that I'm assuming it just doesn't happen when you're in front of the camera or on Google Plus or anything like that.
Oh, I guess, yeah. No, you're right. I just live life the same way as I work. Just pushing forward, and just creating my own opportunities. You're not going to get it handed to you, and it's the same way in life too. I had to go out and ask my wife to marry her. She didn't come to me and say, "Hey, let's get married." I asked her. You have to ask if you want to get something done, and I guess that's the way I just go forward with gusto.
Go forward with gusto. Words to live by from Wade Harman. Let's go ahead and get a couple of these answers to your questions, and you can kind of grade them if you want, or just be a nice guy. It's up to you. I'll let you be mean if you want. So let's see. Cheryl Deuce says, where'd that go? I just lost it. Here it is. She says she's not afraid to shut it down. She has a cell phone free hour with her kids after school where they just talk, do homework, take the dog for a walk. We have a rule: no cell phones at the dinner table. I can't. My kids aren't old enough really for that yet, but I can't wait to institute that rule, though. Definitely something that is pretty important. Thomas Hanna says his wife nails him on the social addiction all the time, and he feels that if he's unplugged, he's worrying about missing something, even though 90% of the time, whatever he's missing can wait. Maybe talk about that. Just
Woody Allen. Woody Allen. Thanks, Thomas. That's who that quote was. 80% of success is showing up was said by Woody Allen.
But talk about that though, as far as the fear of missing something, and the kind of the constant paranoia of not being plugged in.
I asked that question because I asked the same question of myself about 2 months ago. I've been on social media, been doing the blogging thing for right at 3 years now, and I can definitely understand what Thomas is worried about. If you're not completely connected, you're going to miss something. You're not going to be visible. You worry about, taking too much time to respond to people. I get that. I still worry about that. I mean, because people have a tendency to forget if you aren't consistent with it and you aren't always popping up. So I guess I had a little bit of an OCD moment with the past 3 years. And finally, 2 months ago, I looked around, and my infant son was 4 years old, and I had another baby. Where did that come from? And so I was like, well, I'm missing all this. And so I just made a decision. I'm going to work. I'm going to work from 7:30, 8 o'clock every morning to 3:30 or 4 o'clock every evening, and I'm cutting it off. And I've done that, and you've probably seen that I've done that because I haven't been as active on Google Plus as I normally am. But it was a struggle to tear that away.
Yeah, I mean that's I definitely have to catch myself. The easiest thing I do is I just put my phone somewhere where it's not even by me. Like I just leave it, and it just has to be like out of sight, out of mind. But
Yeah.
very interesting, conversation. We could go on about that for quite a while. But I think, and I kind of want to come back to my first, and what we're going to do as soon as we're done with this last question here, we're going to get a fearless question on the show, and I think we're going to have Thomas Hanna come on to ask that question. I'm going to try and get him in while you answer this question that I ask you.
Okay.
But kind of one of my first experiences reaching out to you, I don't know if you remember this or not, but basically I was just kind of saying why I like Wade Harman, and I listed like a few different things, and basically, at the time you had like a slightly blurry webcam. You're showing me up now because you have one of the better sets behind you, so that's inaccurate. But I mean, and again, like you had mentioned in your pre-show rant, you have a relatively thick Southern accent, so you don't really sound the part of a social media expert either. You don't hear too many people with Southern accents. But you really didn't care, and that kind of is what elevated and showed through between the whole thing. It's just, I'm going to do this. I'm dedicated. I came from a coal mine, which I didn't know at the time, but I don't really care what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing this, and it's going to work. Was that intentional? Was that just your lack of awareness? Just give me kind of your thoughts on that. I don't know if it's really a question or not, but
I guess that was I was too ignorant to know what to do right. And I just knew what I wanted to happen, and I knew that social media was an outlet that I could make that happen from, and I knew that the blog was the place of my headquarters that I could send the people from social to. And so I just kind of interlocked that, and I didn't study any social strategy, man. I didn't go out and research. And can you see? I'm like, it's like a waiter position. Can you see me as a waiter? You think I'd bring you a cup of coffee? I'm not going to do that. And so it's just the same thing. I still have trouble researching to this day, but it was lack of ignorance. I was unaware of the things that I needed to do, and which counts for the stoppage times that I had so many times when I was first starting out, because I had to learn it, and I learned it on the go. I learned it. One of my rants, as you said, one of my rants is if you're going to do a hangout, professional hangout, you need to have a computer that has at least an i5 processor, a webcam that will put out HD video, because if you're going to do it, you need to do it the right way. And if you're a guest, I can see you don't do it, so I'm not trying to hammer down everybody, but that's one of my rants. But see, I had to learn that stuff when I bought this computer for the show. I just bought a computer, man. Again, no research whatsoever, and I just bought a computer. It was big, and it didn't have an i5 processor, and so I had to ask people like my buddy Jeff C. and Ronnie Benser and things of that nature. They had to tell me what they had learned. So everything that I have learned has been secondhand from people that already knew the information. So it took me a while to get everything set up, and in probably about a year, I'll probably figure out what's wrong with what I'm doing now and have to change it again.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because it kind of sparked a question that I didn't get to ask a little bit ago, and it was in your self-doubt for kind of your ability to learn something. You said that you wouldn't have been able to learn something beyond a certain point if Mark hadn't stepped in, or if whatever hadn't happened. Why did you kind of limit yourself like that?
I guess it still goes back to ignorance about this whole thing. I don't know everything there is to know. There's plenty of other people that would I've seen a lot of social strategy in 3 years now, and I'm not going to call myself an expert at it, but now I feel comfortable enough to say yes, I can learn anything now. Um, but back whenever I was first starting, it was just it was I didn't know what was to be expected, what I needed to know, and so I think it just came from the whole unawareness bit.
But still, I guess it still seems. I mean, because I guess the way that the way that I would hope that this show ultimately conveys things to people is I kind of approach things with, I don't know, but I know I can find the answer, and I think that is, something that is lost on a lot of people. Am I kind of a little, am I sitting in my white tower on this, or what do you think about that?
No, no, I think that that's a valid point. I don't. That's valid. I just don't know how to answer.
I mean, I guess I don't. I guess I have a hard time understanding. I was hoping maybe you could understand like where that kind of that self doubt comes in, like to limiting
Well,
your
that
ability.
that's basically. I still every day I'm wondering hey, did I do this right? Am I am I doing it good enough so that somebody could say, yes, Wade Harman is who he says he is, and it's a daily process for me, and so it's every day. I'm trying to learn better and do better for not just me, but for the people that follow me, and yeah, I don't know why that I doubt like that, but I think it does stem from I knew in the past that I didn't know everything, and I had so much to learn in the past. I think it stems from that because maybe I'm fearful that there is something else that I don't know that I haven't found out yet, and so I guess that's why I doubt.
All right. Well, I'll let you off the hook there because we have a special guest, a Thomas E. Hanna, has hopped in to ask you a fearless question from the audience, and he had a really good one right before the show, so I wanted to bring him in. And Thomas, go ahead, take it away, sir.
Well, I think you've kind of already answered that a little bit, Wade, but I will go ahead and pose it again anyhow. I know that you tend to identify yourself. Your entire business and your social presence is built around relationship marketing and how you build relationships, and you identify yourself, however, you emphasize that you are a relationships enthusiast as opposed to a relationships expert. And when people identify you as an expert, you tend to correct them that you are a relationships enthusiast. And so I know that coming from a coal mining background and including some of your conversation we've had up to this point about doubt, reason
No.
that you reject the expert label is part of that connection tied to that self-doubt in terms of identifying yourself as an expert in that field?
It could possibly be, yeah. I just don't like, if somebody said if you call yourself an expert, you probably ain't one. And it's better for the people to call you one. I recognize that early on, but then again, I don't feel like I know everything there is to know about relationship marketing. An expert knows everything there is to know about a subject, and I'm still learning. Just like I don't think there's a handful of social media experts out there. We're not all social media experts because there's some things we don't know, and so we can't call ourselves experts. Yet people do, and I see how people just throw that word loosely around and they tack it on at the end of their name in LinkedIn and Google Plus and other professional sites, and they throw that out there, and I definitely don't want people to think that I think I'm any better than they are, because that's important to me, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal, look down on everybody from my high mountaintop or anything. I want to be on their playing field. I want to be approachable. I want to be friendly. I want to, let people relate to me as a regular guy, as, hey, this guy really knows what he's talking about. He's an expert, but he doesn't call himself that. That makes me feel more comfortable around him, makes me trust him more, makes my confidence in him a little bit more higher. So, and it's not a strategy. It's really the way I feel, because I don't like the term, and I don't feel like I know everything.
Let me step in here real quick because I'm gonna have to stop this fight because you're really beating yourself up a little bit too much here, Wade. And I think what I would say to that is an expert only knows everything today. They're not going to know tomorrow. So I mean, obviously, I would never recommend using the point yourself, but or the word yourself. But I mean, what would you say to possibly the fact that listen, an expert is only an expert today, and if they're not willing to continue to be an expert tomorrow, then it doesn't particularly matter.
No, I understand that, and I would call there are people in my social and SEO past that I would call an SEO expert today, and a social media expert, because I feel, but these people, see, my point is these people wouldn't call themselves that, and that's the point I'm trying to drive home, because they don't think about that. They don't think about, it's not about the title. It's about how many people you've helped today, and how many people's lives that you've impacted today. Who cares about the title? Relationship marketing, who cares? I'm trying to help people get a better grasp on their social media strategy by using these techniques. And if they want to call me an expert, I will happily accept it, but then I will say, just like Thomas says, I kind of go in and I say, hey, I prefer enthusiasts, but thank you, and I've done that before.
Any final thoughts for Wade, Thomas?
No, I mean, I think I get where you're coming from, and the secondary part of that, which I think you were hinting at, Wade, is that your goal is to empower people. So there's not the difference. It's anybody can do what you've done, and you tend to drive that home as well, which I think ties in with exactly what you're talking about. But that's good to know. So.
All right, fantastic. Well, Thomas, thank you very much for hopping in and being a little fearless in yourself. Not too many people have the courage to step in on camera. Appreciate that. But we're pretty much done here, Wade. I appreciate all the time that you have given us today. Feel free. Where should people go? What do you want people to do? Where is the best place to get more Wade Harman?
You can go to wadeharman.com/subscribe and get everything there is about relationship marketing, social media marketing, and different tips like that. And also, I'm on iTunes, the Relationship Marketing Show, and check that out.
All right, fantastic. Well, I do really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully, you guys have a little bit better idea of what makes Wade such a good underdog, if there is such a thing, and how you can kind of start being a little better at it yourself. But we're out of here. I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy, everyone.